How'd you like to improve your game, say 20 to 30%, and not have to improve your serve or a ground stroke or even your volley? We know you can do this by concentrating on a couple of areas: preparation and conditioning or training. Preparation really begins sometimes getting a better night's sleep the night before a big match. Of course, you want to sleep well all the time, and you should do these things well in advance. Other times it might mean eating your breakfast at the right time so you'll be ready to go out there and run full speed. The second part of preparation is conditioning or training, because this is the other area that'll help you improve that 20 to 30% without improving your serve. And conditioning can help your game. Let's say if you're a little heavy, you need some speed, you've got to lose some weight, which is tough to do. Sometimes if you want to put a little more zip in your shots, you might have to gain a little weight to get some strength. Do some special exercises. That won't hurt you. A lot of ways to improve your game through conditioning. You got to be ready to play those 4-hour matches sometime. In this lesson on preparation and conditioning, we have 3 wonderful instructors who are going to tell you what they have done in this area to improve their game, make them champions. First one we're going to see in action is a fellow who obviously felt that he needed a little more quickness. Fantastic player, but he had to get a little quicker on his feet, a little more agility. And let's hear the story from Roscoe Tanner.
When Dennis Ralston and I got together and decided to work on my game, we started thinking about what are the things that I need to do to become a better tennis player. We decided that the first thing I needed to do was to improve my quickness. I was just too slow. I really couldn't play very high percentage tennis. So we started working on my quickness. Then we found that I could improve my ground strokes a little bit and play a little bit better game and really work on an all-round game and not have to go for so many aces. In order to stay up on my toes during a match and keep myself alert, the first thing I try to do is jump rope each day, trying to do about 5 3-minute rounds, just like a boxer does. Generally, this gets you pretty tired, but it really improves you keeping up on your toes during a match, during a point. Also, after a long day's practice, we go out on the side courts and start doing sprinting drills. We run back and forth, starting from the fence, running up and touching the baseline and moving backwards, back to the fence, up to the service line, and back to the fence, up to the net, and back to the fence, and keep doing that in a series of sprints. And what we call this drill actually a suicide, because afterward you're kind of dead. One of the things that we do to improve our movement around the court and balance is shadow boxing, or shadow stroking on the court. We move back and forth from side to side, acting like we're moving to the ball and swinging the racket as if we're watching the ball, keeping our eyes more or less trained on the center part of the net. And basically, it's just working on the balance and moving around the court. You go through a series of 3 of them, moving side to side till you get to the net for a drop shot. Then you move backwards to the baseline, and you continue the 3 without stopping.
Those drills that Roscoe was doing certainly look very tough to do, and I just suggest if you can do just half as much as Roscoe was trying to get you to do, you're going to improve that game an awful lot. Now let's go to Marty Riessen, who's going to show you another way to help your conditioning. Well, it also helps you smooth out your strokes. And that's the use of, guess what? That backboard that's usually on a tennis court someplace where you play. The backboard's a very valuable ally, and I suggest that you use it just like Marty's going to show you. Notice how Marty starts off hitting ground strokes. And you can see that he's alternating between forehands and backhands. Now work your way in towards the backboard, slowly but surely. What this does is let you start off with some half volleys when you're fairly close to the backboard, and finally volleys. With this drill, I know you'll improve your feel for these quick reflex shots. You'll also quicken your footwork. You want to continually do this so that your practice session is similar to real match conditions. You can even practice your overhead smash. Notice how Marty bounces the ball so that it comes off the wall like a lob. He can hit an overhead off of it. Or if he wants to, he can race back and return it with a ground stroke. And that's a lot of good exercise, as well as smoothing out those shots. There's ever so many things you can use by practicing off the backboard. I think you ought to try it. I bet you never thought there were so many things you could do with a backboard. Interesting enough, I think you saw Marty there, he could even practice the overhead. So give the backboard a chance. It's going to help your game. Now, there's another major thing about preparation conditioning, and that shows up in warming up for your match. Warming up is really a very critical part about playing a good match. Too often I've seen players go out without any preparation or warm-up, and all of a sudden they're either straining their arm, pulling a leg muscle, what's worse, they get down love 3. So don't get into that kind of a habit. Be ready to go by a good warm-up. And who better can tell you about how really to do it than Arthur Ashe. Arthur starts his warm-up by jogging. Notice how Arthur's changed the jog to a sidestep. And this is a little more of the kind of footwork he's going to use when he actually gets out in action. Now, this is the very famous Arthur Ashe shuffle. I suggest you try it sometime. He's swinging those arms pretty well ready to go.
After having run around the court a couple of times, you should be perspiring a little bit, sweating just a little bit. But if you belong to an indoor club, you really can't get onto a court, what you can do really is just run in place in the locker room. Do this for, a minute, couple of minutes. A couple of minutes won't hurt you. Just gets the blood flowing, loosens up the joints, and then after you've done that for a while, stop in the locker room and start the stretching, literally from head to toe. I start by rolling my head around on my shoulders like this. Don't do it too quickly or snappishly because the muscles are cold and you could hurt yourself. Next, arms out from the shoulders, wave them around, elbows straight, in an ever-widening circle. This is warming up the shoulder sockets so you can serve, move your arms about freely. This should hurt just a tiny bit at first, but then you get over that initial ache. Then, waving the arms out from the shoulders like this, first forward, then backwards, as the shoulder muscles loosen up even more. And with the left arm, forward, backwards. Those muscles in the back and the side that you need when you're serving, very slowly, and you'll start to feel those muscles in the back loosen up as you're able to go over further and further each time. Then bend over at the waist with the knees slightly bent. Bend the knees slightly. Hold it for about 5 seconds. Come up with the knees bent. Don't lock the knees. And go down a little bit farther this time. Keep the knees slightly bent. Try to touch the ground if you can, like I'm doing here. Do one deep knee bend, like this. You'll feel those cartilages and ligaments in the knee start to crack a little bit. Everybody will hear that. Okay, grab the side of the net just like this. Grab the back, the front of your foot like this, and just gently pull, gently, gently. What you're now doing is loosening up the quads. These muscles here, those are the muscles that take you around the court when you run. Nice and slow. Okay, now what we finish with is to jump up in the air 10 times as high as you can. Okay, you do that 10 times, and you're ready to play.
Well, now you've seen a pretty comprehensive lesson from 3 great pros telling you how they help their game through conditioning, preparation, and training. You know, it seems to me, in my experience, why I always felt that if I was better conditioned than the other fella, I was going to beat him one way or the other. And it works out so very, very often. Remember that. If you're within 20 to 30% in ability of your opponent, but you're in better condition, you should end up the winner.